Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 99. We're available on anchor.fm/Travis Damian podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. Today, we're talking about the latest Sonic Frontiers news. Then we'll get into our recent activities, including Bayonetta 3 and Gotham Knights. Afterwards, we'll get into industry news like Nibel leaving Twitter and James Gunn joining DC. Lastly, our thoughts on Andor episodes 8 and 9. So, I guess Sega just decided to have all of this Sonic Frontiers news the week before it came out. So there were some last minute previews, some last minute hands-on impressions, and on top of that, one last trailer called the Showdown trailer, which showed some pretty cool CG stuff. Fuck, I actually didn't watch this prologue animation, but I did see clips of it on Twitter. I forgot to watch this.
It's really sick.
But yeah, I mean, all of it looks pretty cool. Obviously, the main thing that I'm really concerned with was the hands-on impression videos, especially from Some Call Me Johnny, just because I feel like most people that watch his videos know of the fact that he is a big Sonic fan and he's a very big critic of the games, I would say fairly so. And his impressions of the game are very promising, sort of what I expected of Sonic Frontiers as of right now.
Yeah, a lot of people with the hands-on impressions seem to be pretty positive about the game. Obviously, there's still some issues, like the open world stuff could feel a bit repetitive, which is, pretty standard, I think, for a lot of open world games if you've played a ton of them. I think things like Breath of the Wild, were one of the only ones that kept it fresh throughout the whole experience. But a lot of times, the same activities and you just do the same things over and over until the game is done. And it seems like Sonic Frontiers is going to kind of go more into that. So I'm glad to see how well it progresses, if it makes things interesting throughout the different islands and stuff. But and I've been hearing people loving the boss battles. They couldn't show any of it because it was still under embargo, but everyone's saying they're really fun. The cyberspace levels are very short, but apparently they don't just take level designs from Sonic Unleashed and Generations. There was actually a level based off Skyrail from Sonic Adventure 2. That's pretty sick. I don't think we've seen any adventure references, obviously in Generations, but in terms of level design, we haven't really seen that since those games, really. I guess 06, because 06 is basically Adventure 3. I know that hurts to say, but it is. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see just a straight up Sonic Adventure 2 level in I guess a boost formula game. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, from all these impressions, it's really giving my hopes up. I'm hoping the game comes out. It's pretty good. So Sonic could get out of the rut he's kind of been in terms of game quality. Mania was great, but the last really good Sonic game was Generations, and that was forever ago. So
Yeah. One thing that I was really, I guess, concerned with is the fact that, this is the first open world Sonic game, and I'm glad that they were able to sort of find a way to implement it into not necessarily the boost formula, but just for the character in general. Obviously, there are elements of the boost stuff with, some of the controls being messed around with because they've been, having the homing attack be its own designated button. And now it is just like that. If you played Sonic Unleashed or even Sonic Generations, I believe it was the same thing. Yeah. So glad to hear that. One thing that was kind of funny when Johnny was talking about it was the whole boost button. It's on the trigger, which is a little concerning because I was like, oh, I'm so used. I believe it's pressing X or square to just boost. So very interesting that they're messing around with it. But we don't know if you can also map the controls differently to your liking as well. So I wonder if that's going to be a thing. I'm sure it is going to be a thing on PC because why not? But yeah, the Showdown trailer was pretty cool. It reminded me of the I'm Here theme or whatever it's called. Which I forgot I listened to, but I was listening to it twice after watching this newest trailer, and I was like, yeah, that song's pretty sick. So
honestly, I'm actually excited to see what the story is about because the prologue trailer really does set a more, I guess, somber tone throughout the game, and from the impressions that again, no one can really talk about the cutscenes or the story yet. But it does seem like the writing seems to be a lot better than any of the other games. That's probably thanks to Ian Flynn and stuff, making the characters feel like how they should be and stuff. I know just from watching the prologue, I think Knuckles is way better here than he was anywhere else for a while. I think he really captured his character a lot better than Sonic Boom or whatever, So it's really cool to see someone that really gets these characters and could hopefully make a good story because, I don't think Sonic has ever really had a good story. There's cool story beats to them, but they're pretty weirdly told. Like the adventure games has some cool stuff, but they're like, writing is very and and then once you Unleashed was pretty good, but once you get to Colors and Generations, it kind of just stop having those more dramatic stories and stuff. So I think people really wanted this back. So hopefully we could get this back without it being too like campy or whatever, and it feels like it's told well. I think things like Sly Cooper or like Ratchet and Clank and Jack has shown that you could have these cartoony characters with a bit more story to them. So hopefully Sonic could really make that good now and not like come off as like weird. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think definitely within like the mainstream, I guess, ecosystem of just like cartoony looking video game characters, you for the most part get stories that are like Mario stops Bowser, Sonic stops Eggman. So Sonic, you can also argue that Sonic have had more serious stories with the adventure games, but it's been so long since those games have come out. Sonic has been boxed into that sort of thing once again, where it's like good guy versus bad guy. So I think that this one, it does seem like it's doing a little more of a serious tone, which I do like. And like you said with Ian Flynn, like or hate him, whatever you say about him, you can't say that he doesn't know these characters, because he's been writing for the Sonic comics for years under Archie and then later IDW. And now that he is now taking the helm for a mainstream Sonic game, which is kind of big and kind of crazy, the fact that they brought in a comic book sort of I guess like storyteller, writer, if you will, to do a mainstream Sonic game is kind of cool. I feel like most video game franchises wouldn't do that, but because Sonic is such a vast and sort of long-standing video game franchise, and at this point they got nothing else to lose, honestly. When it comes to storytelling, they're like, all right, let's get someone who's literally just been writing for Sonic stories for probably nearly a decade at this point and have him write this game. And it seems like that obviously he knows what he's doing, and I honestly like the way that he writes the characters. I think that he knows how these characters should interact and how they work, the sort of character tropes and the sort of character quirks that they have. So I'm excited to see how this game's story plays out, because like you said, Damian, it's been years since we've had a really good Sonic story, and I'm glad that this one is leaning into that direction, because that's what we thought Sonic Forces was going to be.
Yeah, this is War Tales or whatever. Yeah, that just comes off as bad. Like, I get what they're trying to do, but it just didn't work. Like, I really say, like, Unleashed was really the last time we really had, like, a full, like, I guess more serious Sonic story.
Yeah.
Even then, it was more lighthearted with Chip and stuff. But, we didn't fight like an evil god in a while, so it's gonna be cool to like have that again.
Yeah, and with the whole thing about Eggman winning and war and shit like that, that's what I was excited for with Sonic Forces. I was like, oh, okay, so like Eggman has won. This is gonna be a pretty cool story, but they sort of brush it to the side and they do a bunch of time skips, and the pacing is not there. But with Sonic Prime, it seems like that they're actually doing that, but with a different twist, sort of like a different dimension kind of thing.
Yeah. So Sonic Prime, is basically like Rift Apart, when they got like transported to the evil dimension, and then like Eggman has basically won. All Sonic's friends all like messed up and stuff. Like they're all like
battle scarred,
like resistance and remembers, and like the rebels and all battle scarred. Amy's like half a robot at this point. And all the other, it looks like there's a bunch of Eggmen and stuff. So honestly, it looks pretty cool. When they first announced this show, I didn't even know if it was gonna have a plot. Like, I thought it was just gonna be a a Saturday morning cartoon type thing where it's like a new adventure each week or whatever. But it's cool that it actually has like a plot. Like, they have to like stop this like Eggman situation and stuff. So definitely looking forward to it. I think the animation looks great. For like a CG thing, it looks very dynamic. It's very, they use a lot of what is it, squish and squash, whatever the fuck. You do
stretch and something.
Stretch and sun. So it's it's very, very fluid. I'm not an animator, but it is very fluid looking. Honestly, it looks a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So
yeah, I mean, this one teaser trailer alone has me excited for Sonic Prime, because we now have a much bigger understanding of what's going to happen. So, I also thought it was going to be a sort of just funny Saturday morning cartoon shenanigans type beat, but it looks like that they're actually trying to have an overarching story to it, which is kind of cool. I just can't wait to see how it actually plays out, because obviously Netflix have not been the best when it comes to animation as of late, I'll be honest, just because they canned a lot of really cool and promising projects. And, this is one of them that still remains because obviously this has a huge IP attached to it. So canceling that would just be a huge detriment to Netflix. But yeah, I'm happy to see where this is going and sort of see how it plays out in the grand scheme of things for Sonic fans, but also just for kids in general, because this could be the first introduction for a lot of new younger Sonic fans. Like when I was younger, that's how I was introduced to Sonic with Sonic X and shit like that. So
yeah, I definitely want like another like Sonic X, but like made by the people that make all these Sonic animations now. Like, yeah, again, that prologue animation went hard for like no reason. Like, give me a show like that and we're good. So yeah.
I mean, Sega have been doing these animation projects for a while now with Sonic promoting whichever new game was coming out with the racing animations and then also Sonic Mania animations as well. So, they've been doing these animations for a while, and obviously we'll see what happens with the 2D side of things, but this new CG one for the Netflix, looks pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. More now that we know that's like, I guess, an actual show.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get into our recent activities. I'll let you go first because I actually have stuff to talk about this time.
Yeah. So the only really new thing I was playing is Bayonetta 3. And yeah, the game is really good. Despite all the controversy that was happening with the voice actress and all that, I think the game still managed to be a very good game. It does have some issues. I mean, it's basically just more Bayonetta. So if you played Bayonetta, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into, which is great. I do think like it is held back by the Switch because it does kind of run not great. Like when you're fighting, it's great. Like, and that's the most important part. Like it does feel like it keeps a nice steady frame rate. But when you are just exploring after you do a combat encounter, it definitely like chugs a bit. It does look pretty ugly. I actually think it looks worse than Bayonetta 2. Just because the environments are like larger, but I don't think that really helps the game at all. It just makes it like a more annoying because you could like explore and get collectibles, which I did. And I just feel like there was no reason for the levels to be as big as they were. I feel like things that DMC5 had a better balance between that, where the level design was a lot more linear, but there's still a lot of places to like go explore and get like collectibles and stuff. But still kept the gameplay like tight and focused, because the main thing you want to do in those games is fight shit, because that's what it does best. And I feel like this game kind of lost focus on that a bit. Where like it was like, oh, go explore now, but I'm like, I kind of want to keep fighting things because that's what the game is best at. But when you are fighting things, it's great. The only really new mechanic they added is you could like summon your demons now. So if you like hold like ZL, you could like summon a big demon to fight for you. And if you don't like that mechanic, because it's not really like, you're not really playing as Bayonetta at that point, and it's like, I think some demons are more fun to control than others and stuff, but it's not necessary. Like, you don't have to use it. Instead, at the end of a combo, Bayonetta will flash, and then you could just summon a demon like that for a finisher, and you can still get like stun points or whatever on an enemy, so you can like do torture attacks and stuff. So, you don't have to use that mechanic. I see some people saying like, "Oh, I feel like you're forced to." I never felt like I was forced to use the demons if you don't want to use them, because they are move a lot slower and they're not as fun to play as her. But I think you don't have to use that mechanic if you really don't want to, and you could just play it as just a normal Bayonetta game if you want. The last two really big additions were Viola, which is like a new character they added. She's pretty fun. She basically plays like Bayonetta, except she only has one demon she could summon. And the way she summons it is it kind of plays like Astral Chain, where you summon a demon, but Viola can still fight with the demon instead of Bayonetta just kind of standing there while you play as the demon. And I think that gameplay is just more fun in general. I think like fighting with your demon just makes more sense in general. So that was pretty fun. She definitely doesn't, she only has one weapon. She has like a katana, and that's about it. And the way she activates her witch time is you have to like parry things with a block button, and that sucks ass because I don't think Bayonetta was meant for like more of that slow parrying stuff. Like I feel like it's always more based off like momentum and like dodging things for witch time. So yeah, I was never able to witch time as her, but she was still pretty fun. The game doesn't overload you with her missions. It's only like maybe 4 out of like 14 chapters you play as her, so you still play as Bayonetta most of the time. So she feels like a nice little I guess like refresher, like after playing as Bayonetta. It's like, okay, you can play as her now. So yeah, I thought her levels were pretty fun, mostly because they weren't like too in the way, and I think she was just fun enough to play for those few levels. And then you also have like genre levels, which are like these 2D like side-scrolling things, and they were also like just fun little like breather things. I felt like they could have done more with her. I feel like she's always like a main character afterwards. She's just like the Luigi to like Bayonetta, so it kind of sucks she doesn't get her own things, but whatever. I guess they were pretty fun. But yeah, overall, I thought the game was great. I know people have issues with the ending. I'm going to be honest, I've never really cared about the story in these games because they're just nonsense. Like the question, actually, I enjoyed the story the most in this game because it made the most sense to me because it was just multiverse stuff. I'm like, okay, that's pretty standard at this point because everyone's doing multiverse stuff. So I kind of understand what they were going with, but the ending does leave a lot of implications and stuff, and people felt like some things weren't really deserved, which I do agree with. Like, I think a certain thing wasn't deserved more than it should have been. Like, it probably needed one more game before it felt like this was needed. Obviously, I'm being vague, but overall, I don't really care because, again, the story's always been nonsense. I'm just there to have fun. Bayonetta has a weird thing where it's like it wants you to take it seriously, but also not take it seriously because there's just like a moment where you're doing like a Kamehameha, and I'm just like I'm just enjoying the ride, man. So yeah, overall I loved it. I think it's the best Bayonetta so far. I think Bayonetta 2 would have been better if it was longer because that game was like 2 hours. But I think Bayonetta 3 definitely feels like the most bang for your buck. Ton of fun. I do feel like it's held back by the Switch, and if you're a bigger fan of the lore than I am, then maybe you might find the ending to be kind of a deal breaker because I know a lot of people really don't like the ending, but I really enjoyed the game. So yeah, definitely worth it if you're like more of a casual Bayonetta fan like I am. So yeah, ton of fun. Next, I have Overwatch 2. Obviously, I'm playing Overwatch 2, but I do want to talk about the Halloween event because I've done the new Halloween event.
Yeah,
and it was pretty fun. I liked it. I did it on Expert, which was like the second, or it was right below the hardest difficulty, and I thought it was a ton of fun, and I think it's a good indication of what Blizzard wants to do with the PvE in this game, where it felt more like an MMO dungeon where you have a tank, 2 DPS, and a healer, which is pretty standard for like MMO type content. And the game just has its bosses with mechanics and phases and stuff. Obviously, it's not that complex because it's just like one event thing. But it's really cool to see all the characters talk to each other within the levels. You have more like objectives to do instead of just protect the door like the old Halloween event. It was definitely really cool, and I can't wait to see what they do with the PvE once it actually comes out. Because this does give me a lot of hope to see what that entails. I'm a big fan of PvE content. I think Overwatch really works with that sort of thing. So yeah, hoping they can make the PvE content just like this, but even better with more customizable like skill trees and stuff. So yeah, definitely a big fan of that. And then lastly, I was just playing Final Fantasy 14, new patch. I had nothing else to do after Bayonetta, so I went back to my crack, Final Fantasy 14. They added a new sort of dungeon thing where you could do like, it's called variant dungeons, and it's a dungeon where you could do multiple times, and there's like different endings and paths you could do. It's super fun. You could play it by yourself or with other people. I think it's a great piece of more casual content to do. It gives you a lot of lore and stuff. Just a great addition to the game. I was doing more Island Sanctuary, which is that sort of like Stardew Valley-esque game mode it has now, and that's also a ton of fun. But that's about all I've been doing.
All right. Well, just to piggyback off of Overwatch 2, I mean,
yeah,
I was playing it last night, and I mean, I'm still having fun, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean,
the dark side.
Overwatch 2 is a lot of fun, especially when you play with friends, even when, because we all queue up for like just Phil. And what normally happens is that it's the 3 of us last night. So it was just 2 healers, then one of us was tank. And I was like, oh, okay, let's hope our DPS does as well. So I'm playing fucking Moira. And obviously, she does a lot of damage.
DPS Moira.
Yeah. She does a lot of damage as a healer. And I'm like, yo, I'm out damaging our DPS, man. So then at a certain point, I was just like, fuck it, I'm playing DPS. Y'all can just fill. I really don't care. Because I'm just tired of playing Moira. And I'm just like, all right, well, I'm doing the damage. I'm healing. I don't know. I don't know what else to do, guys. But yeah, I'm still having a lot of fun with that game. More than I would like to admit.
It's a fun game.
It is, definitely. Then I bought Gotham Knights and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. So I bought Gotham Knights and Modern Warfare just because I have people in my life that want to play those games. So I was like, okay, I'll play with them because they have multiplayer aspects to them, obviously. So Gotham Knights, obviously we all know about the shit show that is the game itself not running at 60 FPS on console, and the game itself also just being kind of bad. But in my opinion, I actually am kind of having fun with it for what it is, as a open world sort of a beat 'em up game with RPG elements. It does run a little janky. I am playing on PC, so I get the 60 frames, but even then, when I'm like gliding around and like going throughout Gotham, I'm just like, all right, the way like my character landed is just not right, and the way like the animations move. Sometimes I'll get stuck on like a pole or like a box, and I'm like, I can't fucking move, and it's just weird. Like, it doesn't feel polished, it doesn't feel right. But am I having fun with it? Yes, I am having fun with it. It is very funny playing with your friend, shout out to Louis, playing with him and just watching us just like beat the shit out of people and just doing stupid ass things as Nightwing, or I'm playing Red Hood. It's just dumb fun. But one thing that I really don't like is because like whoever's hosting, when a cutscene starts, your friend just is not in the cutscene, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, like that's a little like weird. There's definitely ways for people to see that this game wasn't meant to be the way it is. I think that a lot of people know or have a strong feeling, like myself, that this was supposed to be something like Avengers, like a live service type game, and then they saw that game came out and it was like, this is really bad, people don't like this, fuck, we gotta redo the whole game either from scratch or we try to retool it. So they just retooled it and tried to like save themselves some time, because this game's been in development for a long time, whether they like to admit it or not. Like, this game has been in development for years at this point, so they had to retool it, and because of that, a lot of the things just don't feel right and don't feel polished at all. Like, for example, like when you get caught and you want to like redo a stealth section, you don't get the smoke bombs immediately. I think like you, like, that's an upgrade, which is a little weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, and like the sort of like gliding feature that they showed in like all of the trailers, like for example, Nightwing has like his glider that you can actually use to like get up higher and just like travel Gotham a lot faster. Red Hood has like his like magical fucking floating jump or whatever. You have to like do challenges to unlock that shit, which is a little weird. I thought that should have just been unlocked like from the jump. And narrative wise, I just thought that it was weird that they just all came together right when Bruce called all of them. I thought that it would be something akin to like maybe like the first Avengers movie, where like, maybe like Robin and Batgirl come and then they have to find Nightwing and Red Hood because like something happened between them and Bruce, and they have to sort of like reconsolidate with that. But they wanted you to play or get to choose to play one of the four characters from the jump, which is understandable. But I think that narratively wise, it could have been a lot cooler if you only got to pick between Robin and Batgirl, or whichever two combo that they decided to go with, and then go from there to try to recruit the other two to show like some sort of conflict going on there, because obviously there is conflict there between the four members. Sort of Red Hood wants to operate on his own kind of deal, but people say that they do like this game story, and I'm only like 3-4 hours in right now, which is still like pretty early on, so I obviously have more to play, so we'll see what happens there. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, my girlfriend wanted to play this, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? It's been years since I played or bought a full-length Call of Duty game. The last one I played was Black Ops 2 on the Xbox 360. I feel like at this point, it's been over 10 years. But I've watched Call of Duty. I've played Warzone, and obviously I know what Call of Duty is. So jumping into this one, I was like, all right, let's see what happens. I just like unlocked like my middle school, high school gamer self, where I'm just raging at every fucking death, and I'm just like, oh my fucking god, this guy's camping in a corner. I mean, people do play like fucking degens in Call of Duty still, like playing Domination, which is the mode with the ABC flags. It's just fucking chaotic, where people are just sitting in corners and just waiting for you to come. And because my brother said that like Call of Duty has changed in a way where like you'll just get sprayed down and just die instantly, which makes the game a lot more frustrating, which is very true, because I'm just like, oh, I saw this guy and I died. All right, whatever. And there's all of these other game modes that I don't fucking know. Like we played like Prisoner or some shit, which I was like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, because I had no idea what the hell was going on. I was like, what is this mode? This mode feels like dog shit.
Yeah, was that supposed to be like their like Valorant-y mode? Like, was that supposed to be a more competitive mode or something? Like,
maybe, I don't know. I feel like Search and Destroy has always been like the
okay.
sort of like Valorant mode where like you die and then you just have to watch your teammates sort of like clutch it out kind of thing. I feel like that mode was like a hybrid between the two because you can res your teammates and stuff like that. So like if you're just like trying to like guard the body, they'll just go around and like res the other guys and like try to like get their numbers up because like I said, you'll just die instantly from guns. Like it doesn't fucking matter, which is really annoying. Playing the really big modes like ground war and shit, I'm not doing that. It's so annoying because the maps are so big and obviously there's so many people. So like you'll go for like 30 seconds to like a minute of not seeing anyone. And it's really like annoying because I'm just like, I just want to like shoot people.
Shoot someone.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, all right, like this kind of sucks. But you know, people are kind of debating whether or not this Call of Duty is good or not. I mean, Dr. Disrespect already uninstalled the game, understandably so, because it is fucking annoying. But he's kind of like the Call of Duty guy, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not following the sort of scene of a PS sort of like streamers or whatever. I know Tim said that he wasn't going to stream it or whatever, and then obviously he is streaming it because he says something about skill-based matchmaking and all this other stuff because it's annoying when you just, you know, queue up for pubs and now you have to sweat against these other sweaty guys. But I feel like the whole skill-based matchmaking debate can also be a whole other topic that we'll get into maybe in the future. Who knows? But in my opinion, I think that skill-based matchmaking can be fine in certain games. I mean, it's in Fall Guys now, which is a little annoying, but at the same time, when you get that W, when you get that win, it feels a lot more rewarding, you know?
I mean, I guess I think skill-based matchmaking like should be in places, maybe not as harshly in like casual modes, because, you know, it's something like Splatoon, right? If you're playing Turf War, there was times when I'm playing Turf War and just straight up there's like S rank players because you could tell by the badges and they're playing Turf War. I'm like, okay, there should probably be something here that like prevents that from happening because it's like little kids and then also against like S rank players and like that's not fun for the people that are on the other team. Yeah, it may be fun to roll people, but I don't know. I don't really have much fun rolling people either. You know, like, you know, I think having a nice fair fight is where it's the most fun. 100%. So I think having some skill based matchmaking is needed. Like I think pub stomping is always like whatever. Like in TF2 I used to do it, but I didn't really feel great about it. So,
yeah. I mean, like we played Valorant earlier this week, and both games were like FF at like round 5 or 6, and I was like, that wasn't fun. You know? So definitely, excuse me, skill-based matchmaking I think is fun. I need some water.
I also think skill-based matchmaking is fine. I think like a lot of streamers just kind of want to pub stomp always. I guess because it's more entertaining for the stream and dying isn't as entertaining. Like that's probably why. But I think it's fine for the most part. I think sweating is like, obviously you don't want every game to be a sweat fest, but like also like I feel like having a stomp and a roll, I mean it's hard to like fix that, but I do think skill-based matchmaking is probably the way to go.
Yeah, I know that was like a pretty big topic before MW2 came out, but we'll move on from there. Thank you for Damian for picking that up. Next thing, I watched Black Adam because I was actually kind of looking forward to this because people were saying good things about it. Obviously, the critics were not so happy about it, but I was like, let's see for myself. And I came out of it actually really enjoying it, not just because of the post-credit scene, which I won't spoil, just in case if you haven't seen it yet or haven't been on social media. But Black Adam, the movie itself, it is very cool. I will say that, just because you get to see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in a role where he's not like 100% silly. Like obviously, like when you're looking at him, it's like that's The Rock, you know, because he's in like everything. But seeing him in this role, the way they introduced Black Adam was like very, very cool. Like it was very much in a much more serious, dark tone, and I was like, oh shit, he's just murking these guys, like just straight up killing them without a care in the world. And I'm like, okay, I'm fucking down. And obviously, like I feel like for most DC films, like if you watch Shazam, it sort of does that thing with the sort of like kid character. There's a whole group of those like human characters that are trying to, you know, get Black Adam on their side to sort of help their country because they're fucking poor. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I really do like where they're going with this character. And then they have the Justice Society, who is like sort of like the good guys, if you will, and they sort of have like that conversation about it. People's complaints about this movie in particular is the fact that they didn't go into that sort of subject a lot more, between like why are they considered good and why is Black Adam bad kind of thing, which I think would have been a pretty cool conversation to have within the film. But at the end of the day, I really do like where they're going with this new, I guess, DC direction, which we'll talk about more with James Gunn now sort of being like the head, I guess, like executive producer or whatever, the sort of like president of everything. So Black Adam is pretty good. I think if you can see it in theaters, go watch it in theaters. It'll be on HBO Max and streaming services and 4K Blu-ray and shit like that before the end of the year. I can guarantee it. Just because. No, go on.
I was gonna say the only thing I know about the movie is where he's like skydiving.
Oh yeah. Okay. That scene's actually kind of cool. No cap.
Okay.
No cap.
I believe you.
It does look a little funny. When I saw it in theaters, I was like, that is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, like overall, like Black Adam is a pretty good DC movie in my opinion. I think.
Okay.
I think if you liked Shazam, I think you'll like this movie. There's no word of what'll happen between those two characters because I know those two are sort of like rivals, if you will.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens there. I definitely am looking forward to whatever DC has cooking up. And then the last thing I got here, because I had to clean up my room. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed for the past, like, I don't know how many fucking episodes. I just had like a stack of books just like on my ottoman, but I cleaned it up. It's now on the bookshelf. Because I moved some stuff around and things like that. But I was reading some manga just like, so I read it and then I can like put it away, like like deep into the bookshelf. So now I don't need to like pull it out unless someone wants to read it. Then I'm like, oh, okay. But I read Dragon Ball. That time I got reincarnated as Yamcha. So this is like a joke manga that I saw on Right Stuff as part of like one of their sales like months and months ago. And I was like, all right, let me see what this manga is about. Because obviously everyone knows what the fucking isekai trope is and shit like that. So I'm going to get into some light spoilers. So if you actually don't want to be spoiled for this manga, just jump ahead. But the manga pretty much starts off with this guy and his friend who are like super Dragon Ball fans. They like know everything about Dragon Ball, you know. And then they like see like this like girl with like really short skirt. And then the main character like tries to like go down the stairs really fast, like get like a closer look, and then he falls and dies. So then he gets reincarnated as Yamcha, but it's in like the Dragon Ball setting, so it's before Dragon Ball Z. But because he's such a huge Dragon Ball fan, he's like, wait, I know how Yamcha's gonna die. So he uses that knowledge to like redo the timeline. So pretty much right off the gate, he goes to Namek to unlock his potential. So then when the Saiyans come and the fucking Cybermen jump him, he lives. And then he's there to fight with Goku to beat Vegeta. And then when Cell comes and shit like that, you know, like it's kind of cool the way that they set it out. Obviously, it's like a one-shot manga with like only like 4 chapters, I believe. But it is overall like a pretty cool thing to see that, you know, they were able to, I guess, like make this and sort of have it be like its own one-off thing. You know, because in Dragon Ball, everyone knows who the fucking cool characters are. If you're not a Saiyan, you're not really that cool.
Yeah, you're garbage,
Yeah, so the fact that they were able to take, like, this fucking piss-slow character, Yamcha, and make him into, like, an isekai character and sort of have this guy, with all of his Dragon Ball knowledge, sort of redo the timeline. I thought it was pretty cool. I think that if you like Dragon Ball, you should definitely, like, read it online or whatever, or obviously buy it in store if you want to actually support it. But I think that this is like a pretty fun, cool, jokey manga. If you're down for that, you know, it doesn't take more than like an hour to read all of it. So if you have that time to kill, yeah, exactly. It is like a very fun manga to just read. All right. So moving on from there, we're going to get into the general gaming news. So Hellena Taylor, obviously when Bayonetta 3 came out, she set all of her alarms to sort of post all of these tweets about, you know, boycotting the game even further and sort of trying to get people to align with her. So yeah, she said that some people are calling me a liar and a gold digger, and I feel the need to defend myself and my reputation in the industry. See thread. And it's just a whole bunch of tweets talking about how she kind of changed the story a little bit here as well. I believe in the video, she said that she got paid, that she was only offered 4K for the full game. And now she's saying that offer was 10K total. So obviously some things aren't aligned here. And yeah, so she just decided to decline the offer. And obviously that was her choice. Obviously, I think in my opinion, the truth of the story is that like she was paid a decent amount, but she was trying to get a lot more for it, you know, kind of thing. So
yeah. So yeah, the story was that she was gonna get paid like I think I forgot what the total amount was, like 15K to 20K for the whole game, which sounds fair, at least for the standards. Apparently, that standards were way higher than the union rate. And then after that, she declined because she thought she deserved more, and residuals and stuff, which is fair. You know, that's a whole different thing. We would talked about if voice actors deserve more money and stuff, but she was getting paid more than the standard union price. So I think Platinum was doing their best to really give her a good offer. She turned it down, and then where she got this whole 4,000 thing from was they offered her $4,000 just for a few lines for cameos, and then she said no. So that's probably where she was getting that 4,000 for the whole game from. Maybe she misinterpreted it. Maybe she thought they came back to her with that offer, and then she was like, "Oh no, that's like unreasonable or whatever." Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's about I think where she thought that 4K came from. But still, she's still been spreading a lot of weird misinformation. She's been she spreaded the donate to charities, but a lot of them were very sus, like charities and stuff. So yeah, very much digging her own grave at this point. And I guess she doesn't really care because, again, she's not really a voice actor. Like, she only voice act Bayonetta. She's always been more of a theater person, so maybe she just doesn't really care. But even then, I feel like any other workplace is going to be like, bro, what the hell was this? So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, her spot in the gaming industry is probably gone forever now. Yeah. Just because of this whole controversy, because obviously there's her side of the story, then there's Platinum's side, and then there's the truth somewhere in the middle. And I'm sure when the NDAs go up or expire, we'll know what the full story is. I can't believe that she just keeps bringing up this $400 million franchise point, which is like...
Is a niche franchise.
Yeah, Bayonetta is not even like that popular. I think if you go on IGN, like whenever they post a review, obviously that's like what their most viewed videos are, is their reviews, 100%.
Right.
When you go on their YouTube channel right now, they have the God of War Ragnarok review. It already has over 1 million views. If you go on their Bayonetta 3 review, however, that has not even 500K. So obviously that just shows like the sort of pull and the sort of scope that this franchise has. I'm pretty sure it's not even close to $450 million. Not to bash Bayonetta, but we know as fans of the franchise ourselves is that like the franchise is not that big or that expensive.
Yeah, I mean Bayonetta 1 and 2 I think have only sold like only a little bit over 1 million each, so it's not like a very big franchise. Like, she's a very recognizable character, but like her games are still like pretty niche. They're these really Japanese character action games that aren't very accessible to a lot of people that like that's weird to them. So saying that it's like this huge franchise, like it's like fucking Pokemon or something that makes a bunch of money, obviously that's just like not true. So
I know that, what's it called? I actually played Bayonetta 2 recently to like get gameplay footage for like one of the highlight videos that I did, and I was like, yeah, Bayonetta's still a lot of fun. Hearing her voice, I was like, oh yeah, she's kind of canceled now in a sense.
Yeah,
but
lightly canceled.
It is what it is. I think that at the end of the day, this is sort of what journalism can have the power of, is to show the truth. Because when Jason Strider came out and it was like, here's the other side of the story in a sense, and some people actually shat on him for that, and I'm just like, well, he's just doing his job,
right? Like, I don't know, I think like Jason Strider just does his job. He reports on what happens. Even if you don't like the truth, that's kind of what he's bringing to the table. Mm-hmm. I know when he did the whole thing with Blizzard and stuff, people didn't really want to believe it. Obviously, it was all true and stuff. So he has a lot of connections, and people come to him, to tell him these things because he is very, trusted throughout the community. So him like lying about something like this just doesn't check out. And I feel like the burden of proof is on her now to provide something, and she just hasn't. She just keeps doubling down on claims, and she just has no proof about anything. So
I haven't seen one screenshot, one email, nothing from her side, and that's just how the story ends as of right now. I'm sure that she's gonna, still make a fuss about it whenever the next Bayonetta thing gets announced or whatever the case is. But it looks like all the internet, I guess, trolls and sort of, online warriors are sort of coming out and being like, "Hey, yo, buy, buy the game."
Yeah. Honestly, it is selling. It looks like it's selling pretty well. It's still on the top of the Nintendo eShop, which is pretty cool. But I guess we'll see once we get the sales figures and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Nibel, you might know this guy. He has like the Mob Psycho profile picture. You've probably seen him everywhere on Twitter announcing new game stuff. Yeah, he's leaving Twitter. So apparently this decision is based off two things. One, that Elon Musk, taking over Twitter. A lot of people aren't happy about it because it's Elon Musk. But secondly, I know he tried to do a Patreon and it didn't really work out too well. And maybe he said during the whole thing, like, maybe people didn't really value me, but people value more of the news I provided and stuff. So he felt like other people could have done that, and it's best if he like moved on with his life, which is fair. I mean, if you're putting this much dedication into something that you're not really getting paid for, it might feel unrewarding at a certain amount. I feel like there's only so much clout can really give you. I know some people live off that, but at a certain point you can't actually live off it. So he's probably best being in an actual games journalist thing or just moving on with his life. So it makes sense why he decided to do these things because of those two reasons. It still sucks because every time a news broke out, I usually saw it because of him. Like, he will be the first person I see on Twitter talking about it. So it's gonna suck to lose such a reliable source of information, but it's his life. He could do what he wants to do. There's other news outlets, but yeah, it's gonna suck to lose him. So
yeah, I feel like anyone within the gaming journalism sphere, the gaming, just like, if you want to follow gaming news, you followed Nibel. And I'd be lying if I said that I didn't use his Twitter every single episode where I was just going through his account and being like, all right, did I miss anything? Obviously he wouldn't post everything, but he would post the really big stories and whatever things that I missed out on and sort of filled the gaps for whatever we needed for the show. So I'm glad that, he did a really good service for us. And it sucks that he's leaving. It is definitely a 100% valid reason to leave because he's not getting paid for it. I think that there were definitely other options for him to do to get other revenue sources. Like, for example, maybe he could have done YouTube and, made like quick videos on whatever news for that day, maybe even for that week. Obviously, YouTube is a whole different thing compared to Twitter. Twitter, you just send the tweets and he's usually like one of the first people to really get it out there, which is kind of crazy. Obviously, Patreon was a option for him to just keep doing his Twitter thing, but at the same time get paid for it. And obviously, Patreon is a lot more harder to get people because you're actually putting money down, and sort of what are the benefits of that. He did say that he is refunding everyone for their contributions, which is nice of him. So it just sucks that he's leaving because I think that a lot of people within this space in particular, whether you do talk shows, podcasts like us or whatever, or you just follow gaming news in general, you went to him. You 100% went to him for everything within the gaming industry, whether you wanted to see review scores or if you wanted to see what happened during the latest direct, state of play, whatever. He always had a thread there to show you pretty much everything, literally everything that was announced during that event, whether it was big, small, or whatever the case is. So yeah, sucks that he's leaving. Obviously, with Elon Musk coming into and actually taking over Twitter, which is still a ongoing developing story that we will not get into, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of a little political.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, he's really firing everyone like on the spot, which is kind of crazy, and it looks like that there's going to be lawsuits about it from what I saw on Twitter, ironically enough. But yeah, it sucks that these people were legit straight up fired because he was just like, all right, I'm the new head, you're fired, and no like real notice, or I believe the reason why Twitter is getting sued now is because there was no like 60-day mandatory notice or something like that. So I could be wrong there. Don't exactly quote me on that, but that's just what I saw. So Elon Musk taking over Twitter, we'll only see the whole ratifications of his purchase within a year or maybe even 6 months, depending on how fast this site burns down or goes up. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, definitely respectable of. I definitely respect Nibel's decision, whoever this person is out there. I hope that they are doing well and able to find something that makes them happy.
Yeah, hopefully so, because he was such a reliable source of information. Same thing with like Wario64. I use him a lot for any like deals or whatever. If he decides to leave too, I'm like, oh no, because that's how I was able to get PS5, because he was like, it's on target, go. I'm like, so yeah, then I went to get it. So yeah, if Wario64 goes too, that'll be very sad. But these Twitter people, they do a good service, and it's sad to see one of them go. So
yeah, I think he uses affiliate links in like everything he posts, so that's how he's able to, or most of the things that he posts, whatever he can, get affiliate links for. I know that what's it called? Amazon is definitely one of them. He also has the Epic Creator to Code in his bio. So yeah, and obviously he has a huge following. Obviously his tweets, depending on what they are, may or may not get sort of, I guess a lot of likes, a lot of retweets, whatever the case is. But yeah, these people on Twitter are definitely should not be taken for granted. And I'm sure once Nibel announced him leaving, people were like, oh shit, it's sort of like you never knew what you had until it was gone sort of situation. So yeah, Nibel, hope you're doing well out there, man, or girl, whoever you are. All right, so next piece of news we got is EA and Marvel have signed a 3-game deal. So I'm not sure if the new Captain America Black Panther game is a part of this, or the Iron Man game either. Well, I don't even know if the Captain America Black Panther game is fucking EA or whatever. But anyways, we don't know exactly what games are a part of this.
No, it's Skydance.
Yeah. So that one's Skydance. My apologies. So, yeah, I mean, there are more Marvel games coming out, and it looks like EA is going to be a part of that sort of talking point. Iron Man is one of them. That is definitely confirmed. But the other two, we have no idea what those are going to be. EA have obviously had a very interesting track record within the gaming industry, to say the least. I think people are still not trusting them 100%, which is understandably so. The only EA projects I've really had my hands on are whatever the It Takes Two developers are doing. That's pretty much it. I don't really touch anything else from them, as far as I know. I could be wrong. Obviously, people who play Apex are definitely a part of the EA, I guess, like, ecosystem, if you will. But yeah, I mean, the only thing we've learned from Insomniac Spider-Man is that you can still make good superhero games. So
yep. Yeah, I think it really depends, because I actually don't know. Do we know who's actually making? It says EA, they're doing the Iron Man game, but like, is it EA or is it like some other developer and they're just publishing it? Like, I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
but either
we don't
way,
know yet.
Yeah. So like, once I think that information's out, I can have a better opinion on this. But Iron Man game has so much potential. That's such a good like hero to do a game with. But obviously EA, they could easily mess it up. Season passes, DLC, whatever. There's a ton of ways you could mess this up. So I'm really hoping they can have a really good, like Iron Man game. I think recently we've been having some pretty, it's been pretty good and bad with superhero games lately. I think, obviously Spider-Man's fantastic. Guardians of the Galaxy was very good. But then you have things like Avengers, which is not good. And, things like Gotham Knights, which is just kind of mid. So hopefully we could get this Iron Man game is like, a good thing. Same thing with that Wonder Woman game that's coming out, the Black Panther and Captain America game. There's a ton of good stuff coming out. Just hopefully they're able to really make them good, because I think Spider-Man still stands as one of the best ones. Same thing with the Arkham games as well. They stand as some of the best, more recent examples of a superhero game. So yeah, we just gotta hope that these people really care about the IP and can make it something good.
Yeah, and obviously that there's obviously a huge sort of task before them, because Insomnia have now set the bar of what people expect from a superhero game, where you quote unquote feel like the character, sort of like with the meme with the whole
feel
Batman.
Like Spider-Man.
Yeah, you can feel like Batman within Arkham Asylum, and it was like, all right, guys, we get it. So if these games can make you feel like the superheroes, or at least make the gameplay loop feel rewarding and a lot of fun, like for example, Guardians of the Galaxy, where you literally just controlled as Star-Lord and you commanded your team of people and you just went through the story. Obviously, I think it was a little too long in my opinion, because they probably didn't know if they were going to get a sequel. So they were probably like, all right, we're just going to shove everything we have in this because we don't know if this is going to succeed or fail. So
Yeah.
it ended up doing well. I'm not sure how the sales numbers are, but that is a very good superhero game. And if you love the Guardians of the Galaxy within the MCU, you should have to give that game a shot. It's on Game Pass. It's pretty much on sale like all the goddamn time. So
Yeah.
definitely check it out if you can. So I hope that these games that EA are either going to be developing, publishing themselves, whatever the case is, that they are able to deliver on whichever superhero that they decide to do.
Yeah, let's just hope they don't get too greedy, like we always do. All right, so well, speaking of Insomniac, is Ratchet and Clank's 20th anniversary.
Yes,
so I was
sir.
going to mention this anyway, but PlayStation actually did put a blog post celebrating the games. And in terms of actual new stuff we're getting, or I guess celebration type stuff, we're getting some armor sets in Rift Apart. We're getting a Deadlock-inspired armor, one from Quest for Booty, one from A Crack in Time, one from Going Commando, and a really cursed Clank armor that looks really weird. I think that's really cool. I find it really cool whenever they acknowledge Deadlock exists. That's pretty cool. But besides that, in terms of actual things that people really want, as in like ports or a new collection, we're not getting new collections, but we are getting whatever Ratchet and Clank games were missing from PS Premium, we're getting those now. So we're getting Ratchet and Clank, the original, Going Commando, Up Your Arsenal, Deadlock, and Tools of Destruction are going to be on PlayStation Premium because they weren't on there to begin with. So yeah, this is about what I expected from them. I was literally about to make predictions like before this podcast, being like, this is about what I expect from the celebration. Obviously, my dream scenario would be like a new sort of like mega collection with all the mainline Ratchet and Clank games, all at like 60 FPS. They all look great, new trophies and stuff. Like that would have been my dream. But obviously that's not happening. This is about the more realistic expectations I had for this celebration. And I'm just happy I could finally play the games on modern hardware. I don't need to bring out my fat PS3 from like 2006 anymore. I could just use the PS5 now. So that's great. And like I said before, the PlayStation streaming is actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But again, it's still streaming at the end of the day. And unfortunately, a lot of countries can't even have premium. I see a lot of Australians are just like, well, I just can't play this because it's not in Australia. You just don't have it. So hopefully by like the 25th anniversary, we could get a nice new collection for these games. But it looks like we're just going to have to deal with this for now. They are going to do a live stream at like 2:30 today. I'll probably catch some of that. I highly doubt they're going to announce anything else, but it'll be cool just to see them play through some of the older games again, and they have some of the old people that worked on them, so I think that's going to be pretty cool to see. But yeah, overall, love Ratchet and Clank. I'm happy he's gained something. More than anyone else, I guess. I mean, Sly got his games back on PS Plus because they were not from there again. I don't know. It was weird, but yeah. Overall, it's cool to see him get stuff, and 20 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it is very cool that they were able to do even a little bit of something. Nothing physical, unfortunately. No t-shirt,
physical,
no merch.
No merch. Yeah.
Yeah. So. But hey, to those that have PlayStation Plus Premium, you now have a chance to play these games. I only have the regular PS Plus because I had to buy it for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, so maybe I'll upgrade to Premium at some point in my 1-year cycle of having this new subscription that I am now attached to. But yeah, definitely very cool that they are putting these on the service. They are the PS3 versions, which is a little unfortunate because
so you're gonna get floating helmets and stuff.
Yep. You're gonna get some graphical hiccups and not so polished sort of games, if you will, but those games are still really, really good to sort of show where Ratchet and Clank have come, especially if you played the newer ones, whether they were on the PS3, even the PS4 game, and now the newest one, Rift Apart. You can see where it all started. So now you have the full collection on PS Plus if you have that available to you. Like you said, Damian, I would have loved to have another physical collection, if you will, of all the games, whether it was a port or whatever, just having the games physically in a box. That would have been cool. I feel like that this is just untapped potential, untapped money, if you will, for PlayStation, for any of these franchises, honestly. They did it a lot during the PS3 era where they had like these collections. They had the God of War collection, which was pretty much every single PS3 collection that they made just in a package. Unfortunately, the Origins collection was on a code, so that one, that physical version of that game is a lot more expensive. But they also did it for Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, even like the Killzone games as well, Infamous as well, the duology that they had on there. So, it looks like that they were doing it back then, but for some reason it's just not appealing now. nowadays. I don't know why.
I guess their philosophy like changed because they used to, celebrate more of the older IPs or have like a more like I guess like they acknowledge them more. Now it definitely seems like they just want to focus on the new stuff, and luckily Ratchet and Clank is still like an active IP, so I guess they can't really ignore such a big celebration like this.
Yeah,
because I think he is one of the longest still active Sony IPs at this point. Everything else has been shafted, so very cool for Ratchet to actually stand that test of time. And one of my first real gaming memories is playing the first game, so it's really cool to see this little boy like still here on the PS5. So really cool. Really wish it was like an actual collection, but whatever, I'll take what I could get.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with Insomniac's success of Spider-Man, because they're like, all right, well, you guys don't want to do Ratchet and Clank, all right, that's cool. Like we can't deny that, because if they do,
yeah. Also, it does help that the games sell well. Like if you look at the sales numbers for things like Jak and Daxter or Sly Cooper, their sales numbers went way down after the first game. Ratchet and Clank was the only one that actually kept going up as the series went on. I don't really know why. Probably because it was just more appealing to people with the guns and stuff. I mean, Jak tried to do it, but I think it went too edgy. And Sly Cooper, didn't really try to do that. Just try to be its own thing. So, like, I guess like the gun thing really helped a lot. And then Deadlock came out, was super edgy. I love Deadlock, but still. And then when the future games came out, I think it kind of just cemented itself as a more family friendly thing, and people just jived with it. So yeah, I think the Ratchet and Clank has done enough to like sort of evolve with the times. And honestly, I'm just happy Tools of Destruction is there, because like I felt like if you play Rift Apart, like you kind of need to play that game to understand what's going on. So kind of weird it wasn't there to begin with. But yeah, overall, I'm okay with this. So yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. So moving on from there, we got HBO's The Last of Us. It is coming January 15th. So this was leaked before they officially announced it. They probably looked on Twitter and were like, ah, shit, guys. Fuck. I guess we got to announce it now. So, yeah, it is premiering, I said
so
February.
This got leaked too? Oh, my
January.
God.
Yeah.
Naughty Dog can't stop getting leaked.
I think I said February by accident. Anyways, January 15th, guys. January 15th. We got HBO's Last of Us premiering. I believe it's 9 p.m. or something like that on
That's way
HBO Max and everything. So, yeah, I mean, it's only going to be 9 episodes, unfortunately, which can be a good or bad thing. I think that some people are a little concerned because of how long The Last of Us of a game actually is, and only having about 9 hours worth of TV content may not be enough to tell the full story. In my opinion, I think that because we're not doing a lot of the gameplay loops, they're probably going to go through that stuff a lot faster, and sort of just get to like the nitty gritty of just like the character interactions and the character building between Joel and Ellie, which is what people love about this series, what people love about this franchise still, even after part 2. So I think 9 episodes should be enough. Or in my theory, might sound crazy, guys, but they might be doing a season 2. They might be debating us with a season 1, but not saying that it's season 1 and then just doing a season 2 later. Who knows?
That's what I thought was happening, because I feel like 9 episodes is like you can't really do everything you want to do in that amount of time. So it might just be like the first bit of the game. Cause HBO says they want this to be the next like big series, so it wouldn't make sense for them to just end it on one season, or it would just be like 2 seasons, because season 1 would be the first game, season 2 would be the second game. I highly doubt that. I think like Last of Us 1 probably will take like 3 seasons or something. Like they're probably gonna want to milk it as much as they can. So at least that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously no confirmation as to whether or not this first season is gonna have everything or not. But obviously, once people get to like episode 4 or 5, they'll know when season 2 is gonna come in. I'm sure that they'll hopefully officially announce it at that point, because it'll be very obvious to fans of The Last of Us watching it, being like, all right, guys, we're like 4 or 5 episodes in. He's still, doing very much beginning stuff, if you will. I don't want to spoil Last of Us just because people haven't played it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the remake came out, so yes, yeah.
We're still doing this stuff, so we're not at winter yet. So I think there's gonna be a season 2, but they've literally shown scenes from later in the game, so I feel like this first season is probably gonna be the only season of it, I feel, in my opinion.
Right. That's a fair like assessment to make, because it did show things like in the snow and stuff. So, yeah, it could just be the whole game. But hopefully they just do it well. I mean, it's supposed to be like hour episodes, I guess.
Yeah.
Like all HBO things. So hopefully that's enough to tell the whole story. Because, I mean, to be honest, like it's not really like a lot of story in Last of Us. It's more about character interactions and like moving forward anyway.
Yeah.
And if you take away all the ladder puzzles, like what you got, so you just got the character interactions. So I feel like you probably could fit all of that in like 9 episodes and keep a good pace without it feeling too long-winded. So yeah, maybe it might be all like just Last of Us like 1, and then they could do Last of Us 2 for the second thing, and I don't know what would happen after that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what people think and how a whole new audience of people who never played video games before can really say what they think about this show. Because we haven't really had a big budget zombie show since Walking Dead, and that became garbage after a while. So I think this is gonna fill a nice hole for a lot of people. So yeah.
Walking Dead is still going on, really.
Yep.
Just kind of crazy. Me and Damian fell off around when a certain character died.
Yep.
That sucks. But yeah, hopefully that this show is able to deliver. I know Neil Druckmann's on it, and obviously Pedro Pascal as the main lead. I have a lot of faith in him as an actor to perform in this role. So I'm sure that he's going to deliver. But, with a lot of people that have worked on Last of Us, just a part of this project, I have full faith that this is going to do well. And obviously the first episode is going to set the tone for everything. So hopefully on January 15th around 9 p.m. after the hour-long episode, people have a good sense of what the show is going to deliver.
All right, so next we got Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. We got the trailer for it. And yeah, it looks like more Ant-Man. It looks like it's gonna be a bit more serious in tone. Towards the end, it got a little more serious. Obviously, it starts very jokey, like I'm Ant-Man, so oh hey Spider-Man, and this is very funny. But towards the end, when we're actually in like the quantum realm and stuff, we see like we're gonna meet King the Conqueror, which we knew from Loki and stuff. So it's gonna be cool to see him. Obviously, I think he has like a lot of versions of himself, so there's just one of his versions, I'm guessing. So it's gonna be cool to see how they interact with him, because he's supposed to be the next big baddie, I guess. So it's gonna be with Thanos, like obviously we didn't really know much about him, but he did always show up at the end of like an Avenger movie, and he's like, "Oh, I'm coming." So, so having him actually be like a villain for a little bit, and then maybe come back later for the actual Avenger stuff is gonna be cool. Just build him up a bit more, make him feel really threatening. I think that'll be something the MCU really needs right now, because it doesn't really have any real centralized thing. Because the thing that was keeping the story in the original phases was that it was to gain the Infinity Stones and all that stuff, and then the big thing with Thanos. And right now it feels very empty without any of that. So hopefully this movie could really get the MCU back on track for like its actual main plot and stuff. Again, I haven't watched Ant-Man and the Wasp. I know you hated it, but I like Ant-Man 1, but I do need to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp now, I guess, because of this movie. I know you say it's not like super like necessary. I guess
it's not dire. I mean, like at this point you've already seen Endgame, so like the gaps that it's gonna fill is not gonna be a whole lot. All you're gonna see is that Ant-Man kind of survived the snap and everything. So
right.
But yeah, I mean, with this movie, I am actually looking forward to it because of its much more serious tone and sort of it going into the quantum realm and having John Mayer actually be in this movie as Kang the Conqueror and its much more serious tone. I'm looking forward to it. I have no idea what's going to happen. Some people theorize that Ant-Man's going to die in this film, which
everyone always says everyone's going to die. It's like the easiest prediction you could do.
Which would be a little crazy, I'll be honest, because he is like one of, I guess, like much more of the goofier mainline Avengers characters, but also this is the one Ant-Man movie that really is going to tie into the overall MCU, because a lot of people skipped on Ant-Man 2 like yourself, and you went into Endgame still knowing what the hell was going on. But this one, it seems like that they're playing a lot more into the overall MCU story, which is a first for the Ant-Man sort of movies, which is pretty cool. So that has me excited for it, and I'm just curious to see on how this movie's going to play out within the overall MCU, because, every single time Kang the Conqueror showed up, in the finale of Loki, and now within this movie, something big has happened. So I wonder what's the big thing that's going to happen in this movie. So yeah, that just has me very, very excited.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are down on the MCU right now, but I think hopefully Black Panther in this movie could really bring back the MCU to like good graces with people. Again, I've been enjoying it so far, but I can't lie in saying that it does feel a little directionless right now. So it'll be nice to get back on track on something. I mean, I don't think Black Panther is really going to bring it back on track either, because it looks like they're dealing with their own stuff. So I think this movie's like Ant-Man is really going to bring it back to be like, okay, here's the central threat. Like, this is what we're building up towards now, and like go deal with it. So yeah, very excited for this movie. And I like Paul Rudd, so it's gonna be a good time.
Paul Rudd's a pretty cool guy, and this movie's gonna come out February 17th, 2023, so this one's pretty close, all things considered. I know Black Panther's gonna be out within the next week or two, right? Something like that. Yeah, next Friday, right? I think.
Yeah, so, I believe next Friday. I might have the
November 11th. So. Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, very, very excited for this one. Hopefully, it does make up for Ant-Man 2, because Ant-Man 2 was very much a silly sort of movie, and I feel like this one's going to be a lot more serious, and it might lose some audience members because of that. But if it's going to play into the overall MCU story, I'm all for it. So,
alrighty. You go.
Last bit of news we got is James Gunn, Peter Safran, hopefully I said that right, are to lead DC Studios for Warner Brothers Discovery. So they are pretty much the new co-CEOs of DC Studios, which is pretty much just like their new thing, what they call the movies. So yeah, I mean, I guess they're like sort of like Kevin Feige. There is a very funny story that they actually did try to get Kevin Feige to do this as well, and they were like, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good," which is understandably so, because I'm sure the job he has at Marvel is fucking stressful. So to do it for another studio would be a lot for him. But I'm glad that James Gunn is a part of this. Obviously, people know him for Guardians of the Galaxy and his much more recent projects with Peacemaker, which we both still have to watch, but the Suicide Squad, which was a fantastic DC movie. And having him be the sort of brains behind everything, I'm looking forward to what he has in store.
I guess DC was just tired of losing, so they're just like, fuck it. Just like, James Gunn did such a good job with Suicide Squad. I'm sure he could fix everything else. Go fix it. And he's like, okay. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I think the DCU has been really dire the whole time. They always had like some great movies in between there, like the Joker, Batman. Obviously, all the Batman stuff is usually going to be pretty good. But, Wonder Woman 1 was really good. I really enjoyed that. Shazam was really good. But yeah, it's usually sprinkled in between a bunch of garbage, like the Justice League or Batman versus Superman and all that good stuff. I know Aquaman has some defenders, but it kind of look garbage too. So yeah, I think if he could finally bring it together, or at least just make good movies, like it don't have to be connected, I'm okay with that. Black Adam was pretty good, so that's good. Hopefully he's able to just keep the ball rolling and like make the DC into something good, because I mean, like, I know the Flash is coming out, and I don't really have hopes for that, because the person behind the Flash. But hopefully James Gunn can really make a good vision for the DC, just DC in general. Like, it doesn't even have to be a multi like phase thing. It could just be good movies, and I'll be totally okay with that. So hopefully he could bring his A game to that, because I think he did a good job with Suicide Squad, and hopefully he could do the same thing with like the rest of the DC properties.
Yeah. I mean, like, what he's given right now and sort of what he has to his disposal. Obviously, he has Black Adam, and then he also has Henry Cavill officially returning as Superman, which is pretty cool. So, he does have some things to play with. Obviously, he has the Batman and what have you. So, like you said, I am also down for just them making really good movies and none of them really connecting with each other, or maybe having certain movies only connect with each other, and having maybe like the Batman stuff be its own separate thing, and then having the Joker movies also be its own separate thing, etc., etc. So I think James Gunn has a very good eye of what makes obviously good movies and good TV shows and good characters, and sort of using those characters, whether you know them or not, just entertaining to watch. Obviously, the Peacemaker show, I've heard a lot of good things about it, and it's it's because of James Gunn's direction with the characters, but also with John Cena. He obviously likes playing that character, and the fact that James Gunn was able to turn John Cena, who's a very silly, memey guy, on in the grand scheme of things, and turn the show into something that people are considering it to be really, really good in terms of TV superhero shows, is a good sign, in my opinion. So I wonder what James Gunn's plans are going forward. Obviously, Warner Brothers still wants the Flash movie to, be released. So he's going to have to work from there, and hopefully that we get a much, bigger plan of what's going to happen within the DC movie scope within the next 6 months, maybe even within a year. Obviously, he has a lot to, tackle here, but once he's done with the Guardians of the Galaxy, he'll jump onto DC. And we have to remember, cancel culture obviously played a huge role into him getting the role to direct the Suicide Squad, because he was out of a job because Marvel was like, those 2 weeks were obviously bad jokes, but kind of bad. But you know what? The internet's kind of canceling you, so you're fired from Guardians 3. And then he got hired for the Suicide Squad, and then they were like, fuck, we can't hire anyone else. So they were like, can you please come back? And he was like, all right, sure. So obviously there's a little bit of bad blood between him and Marvel, but I'm sure that he's not taking it too close to too personally, if I can say that.
They cut him a fat enough check, you'll be like,
okay. Well, 100%. Money speaks for itself. So obviously, and I'm sure Warner Brothers have also cut him a fat check to be like, can you please fix everything for us, please? So I'm excited to see what he has planned in his big old brain of his.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited as well. Hopefully the DCU could really get off its feet now, because I would like to see it succeed. So yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the last bit of the show, we're going to be talking about Andor, Disney Plus's newest show that is currently airing. I think the only one that is currently airing with new episodes. So we're going to be talking about spoilers for episodes 8 and 9, and just for the series in general. So yeah, I mean, it's still pretty good. I mean, we now get to see what happens, after everything, and sort of what his prison life is, and get to see the interconnectings of all that. So, I am still liking Andor. I can definitely say that safely.
I agree as well. I'm really digging the prison saga right now. That's pretty cool. Obviously, the show, like the Empire, just using them for free labor, kind of like real life with the prison systems and stuff not being great. And I think it's cool to see just how the sort of the hierarchy works, and how the inmates are really getting closer together, and sort of learning that this prison's kind of just like slavery at this point. So I think that's all really cool. I think the show does such a really good job showing more the political stuff of Star Wars by making it like fun. The political stuff in things like episode 1 and 2 and stuff are like pretty awful. Not this show, I'm talking about Star Wars, like like Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. That stuff is like very boring because it's just kind of sitting in their chairs and whatever. Here you definitely feel a lot more tension and stuff, and you're like, you don't know what's gonna happen next, or like who's a spy or whatever. So it definitely feels a lot more engaging to like hear about all these political talks, because it just feels more exciting in a sense. And how the show jumps between all the different storylines is really cool as well. Things like Stranger Things does this as well, but I think it really works for the benefit of the show as well, because I feel like if you were just focusing on Andor, you kind of miss on the whole big plot. I think it's really setting itself up to be more than just about himself. It's more about the rebellion and standing against the Empire and stuff. So seeing Andor's more short-sightedness, like, he doesn't still really want to believe what he did on that planet caused like a movement to happen, but it did, and no one can really stop it at this point. Same thing with the other senator lady. She's like, she thinks it's going too fast now, and like maybe this was a mistake, but this is really the only way to make the ball rolling. So I think they really showed those things really well.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Serkis, I did not know that he was going to be in this show.
Right.
But seeing him be like the, I guess, like manager guy or whatever, that was really fun, because he's just a fucking fantastic actor. Like in episode 9, where he was like being like, all right, guys, we didn't hear anything. We didn't hear about those rumors about level 2 getting fried. I was like, that That's why they got him. That's why they fucking got him. This guy is so good at just like being a fucking actor, and I just love that scene, and the fact that he's opening up more to Andor to be like, all right, there's only no more than 12 guards on each level. I'm like, I cannot wait to see what this prison break's gonna be, because
at that point, just like no one's leaving. Like you leave and you come back. So.
Mm-hmm. And when that old guy like had a stroke and then they just fucking killed him, I was like, yo, what the fuck? Obviously they're not gonna help him if he can't work. So, just seeing them become much more closer together is a very realistic thing to have within, I guess, like this prison system that they have going on here, where they don't have a lot of guards, they don't have a lot of security, And when Andor was like, no one's fucking listening, I was like, oh shit.
Same, bro. When you're talking to your teammates.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's trying to find a way out. He's not trying to do these dumbass shifts because he knows what's gonna happen by the time he gets to the end of his shifts. They're just gonna kill him either way. So why should he trust them when they've been treating him like dog shit the whole time?
Also, the other plot line with the freaking I forget what his name is. The dude from the first few episodes who's now like an office worker. That was so
Cyril?
weird. Yeah, Cyril or whatever his name is, Cyril. Like he just stops her. He's like, "Yo, bro, like, hey, man, I mean, like, I don't know what he's trying to say. He's just like, let me in. I want to help you." I like
that shit was so crazy because when I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, he's gonna like ask her out, right? And then he was actually like kind of doing it. I was like, wait, I was just joking. I was like, wait, what the fuck is he doing? Like, this shit is so crazy. Holy fuck. I mean, like, obviously we know that Cyril is like obviously a very weird character. I mean, I feel like most people would just call him Ben Shapiro because he does look like Ben Shapiro. That's what my girlfriend calls him, which I'm just like, yeah, he kind of is like that. And also, like, he has like a fucking stick up his butt about like the Empire. He's like, yeah, the Empire is always right. I'm like, all right, bro, that's what you believe in. Okay, yeah. So yeah, but just that scene with him and Dedra, the commander, I think.
Yeah.
That shit was just crazy to me. I was like, what the fuck is going on right
what is
now?
The scene?
But yeah, I am very much enjoying the other plot lines. They are very much showing the overall scope, like you said, of just what this show is about, not just with Andor trying to, fucking put his pride aside and be like, yeah, I am part of the rebellion, because right now he's just like, nah, I'm in it for the money, but like deep down he knows that like he just wants to do the right thing, and obviously this prison escape is going to be a part of that rebellion. And I find it very funny that they're looking for Andor, but he's in their prison system, but they just don't know it. So I'm just like, okay, well, if they just looked under their nose, they probably would have found him by now, but it is what it is.
big galaxy, no one knows where everything is at all times. It's kind of weird though they didn't like do a face scan or something, but whatever. Don't question it.
Yeah, they're just like, all right, well, he's out there somewhere, right? And meanwhile, he's like doing this fucking routine of like building parts and shit like that, trying to not be at the bottom of his level and whatever. So
yeah. So it looks like the next episode is gonna be a big sort of prison break type deal. As we see with Andor, like, really likes like structure of like 3 episode things, and it does a big thing at the end. So it looks like the next episode is gonna be another banger like the other ones, the other, like 3 episode ones were. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I really found the scene where he was talking to one of his crewmates, and when like the elevator was going down, he's like, we could jump him right now. I was like, no shot they're doing this.
What are you gonna do? This is gonna shock you immediately.
I was like, off the cuff, I was like, no way, there's gotta be a little more planning here, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah, also they can't be the first people that have done that. Like, come on.
I know, right? I was like, oh man, like there's no way that they're doing it, which they did it. So I'm glad that they're playing it a little more smart, but also I'm glad that Andy Serkis's character is sort of caving in, because at first within that scene where they're just like talking to each other in bed, he's like, good night, he's just trying to go to bed, and I'm like, bro, that's some copium you're huffing right now, like, come on, man.
Yeah. Did they even give them doors in the little bunk beds?
Yeah.
Like, at least give you a door. Why do you gotta take a shit? It's like right there. Like, that's weird.
Don't look. Everyone turn around.
Everyone turn around. You take a shit, bro.
My God. But yeah, Andor so far so good. Still one of the better Disney Plus shows. And unfortunately, not a lot of people are watching it.
I think because it's Andor. I mean, I wasn't gonna watch it until like we were gonna talk about it on the podcast, and I heard it was good. I'm like, okay, and now I'm really into it. I think it's because one, it's Andor, and two, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like Star Wars, which is honestly probably a good thing at this point, to feel like something a little different. And I mean, I think the reason why it's so good is because it just has time to breathe. Like, it's 12 episodes. All the episodes are about like an hour. So, I think it has enough time to do things, unlike other shows where I feel like everything is always rushed with these Disney Plus shows. And usually they have pretty big budgets, but I guess that's the sacrifice, is like, okay, you get like 2 episodes. Like, good luck.
Yeah.
So this show really feels like it has time to breathe, and it could really tell a story and stuff. And I've really been enjoying it.
They're really able to tell everyone's story that they're jumping from point A to point B, and it's really nice to see that actually, play out. So I hope by the end of these 12 episodes, before we get into season 2 potentially or whatever, that we are able to see, how Andor, before Rogue One got to where he is, before we get to that movie. So
yeah.
All right. So is there anything else you'd like to add, good stuff?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. So thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 99. We will see you guys next week with episode 100.
Yeah.